We are not defined by the gear we use. Of course not. We're not even defined by the photos we've taken. Really, it's the vision that we see through. It's the stories we live, and eventually it's the legacy we leave behind with the windows that we've created into different narratives, different stories, different opportunities for other people to experience something that they may not have experienced. But gear is a part of that, right? Now in 2025, my channel and the gear I've used has gone through all kinds of change, and a lot of you have been with me through that, through all of this change. It might be overwhelming. And that's why I wanted to make this video a little bit off the cuff, because there's been one major change this year that is probably a little bit personal to some of you. The truth is that this channel got going in large part due to the Fujifilm gear I was using. Shocker, right? People like to watch videos about Fujifilm, and when I started the channel, I was using it. Now the big change this year is that I've stopped using Fujifilm. I quit Fujifilm. And I wanted to make a video evaluating that choice. Do I regret making it? What have I changed to? And what's my evaluation of Fujifilm at present and going forward? So in this video, let's dig into that for a second. This will be a quick one. I just want to talk about what I think about Fujifilm, build quality, quality in general, what I've moved to, and at the end, I'll explain why I made the hard choice of quitting Fujifilm, because it's not really about Fujifilm in many ways. So stick with me if that sounds a little confusing, and I'll give you the answer at the end of the video. First, my 2-minute evaluation of Fujifilm has to start with this idea that I've harped on so many times. It's this idea that Fujifilm is the king of vintage, but it's a bit more complicated than that. Now there's all kinds of new entrants with Olympus and Nikon entering that vintage space with really strong offerings in the OM3, the ZF, the ZFC, and so forth. But I still believe, as I've stated a number of times, that Fujifilm really owns that end of the marketplace. I think they've done something that other cameras have not done, in that they have been refining the vintage experience in the modern form for really the better part of a decade or more now. And I still believe that they're the kings of vintage, and I believe that that's crucial in evaluating Fujifilm because it is so core to the offering that you are buying into when you purchase their cameras. Now, from a technical perspective, owning Fujifilm was perfectly satisfactory in terms of the photo quality I got. I love Fujifilm files. I think they're beautiful. They edit really well. Do I push them as far as my Z8 files? No, I don't, but I can push them very close. So it's never been about the file fidelity, right? Even the low light is better than expected. With my X-T5, I was pushing over 6400. I was always happy with what I was able to get. So it really didn't boil down to the files. Video, kind of the same thing, right? The video files are beautiful, pliable, and just interesting to work with. So why did I ever buy Fujifilm in the first place? Well, it does boil down a little bit to that vintage aesthetic, but not for the reasons you'd think. I don't really care about the concept of vintage, right? I'm not trying to get the film camera experience, but what I am trying to get is a passionate experience. I want to go out with my camera into the places that make me feel emotions, and I want my camera to be a symbiotic aspect of that process. I want the camera to speak to me when everything around me is speaking to me. If I'm holding a computer when I'm in the middle of the mountains, it's like this contradiction that doesn't really make sense procedurally. I just personally don't enjoy it. So I chose Fujifilm originally, really 8 years ago, and again, over and over again since then, because the camera feels right in the hand, because that vintage aesthetic allows for a sort of manual experience that has felt analogous to the kinds of places and opportunities and narratives and stories that I'm diving into when I'm being creative. So I think Fujifilm excels in this way that other cameras just haven't really ever matched. That's as someone that doesn't love the ZF. That's as someone that's never used the OM3 and doesn't have a whole lot of experience with Leica, but enough to say that it's not really in the same weight class, right? Fujifilm is excellent, but what makes it excellent is more personal than that. It's the use of the camera and the way it feels to use. And that is actually the biggest reason I miss it. I don't regret selling the camera from their perspective, because ultimately, as I'll get into later, the opportunities I unlocked by selling it are worth it. But I do miss the way it feels to shoot with Fujifilm. Now, if you've been with me for very long on this channel, you'll understand that By quitting Fujifilm, I'm not so much switching to another camera system as I am choosing to further invest into one that I've already been using for some time. Selling the X-T5 meant going all in with Nikon. I've used a Nikon Z8 for almost 3 years now, which is hard to believe, and I have a Z5 II as well. I have videos about both of those if you guys care to watch, and there will be many, many more over the next years. Now, switching or further investing in Nikon, how does that feel? Is that something that's made me upset by virtue of the fact that I've had to leave Fujifilm in order to do so? Well, yes and no. Nikon has this thing to it that suits me. It's about the robustness, it's about the files, it's about the way the camera feels in my hand. In the end, it is a perfect fit for the photography I do. A lot of where I spend my time is in the mountains, on long trails, on cliff sides, and in places where robustness equals reliability, and reliability is paramount. When I worked with Fujifilm, doing professional work, I often brought a second camera. It's just because I can't get caught out with a broken camera. If I can't come home with the deliverables, then ultimately I'm not a reliable creator, and by virtue of that fact, I am disintegrating the career that I hope to build for myself. Now, this brings into light the idea of the two-body problem, something I talk about fairly regularly. This is just simply that I don't want two bodies. I want to ultimately be able to rely on one in every scenario. Now, in both the Z8 and the Z5 II, individually, I know I can enter every space, capture everything I would want to capture from a photo and video perspective. I know that I can create the time lapses. I know that I have the file fidelity, the size, the bandwidth to ultimately produce at a professional level no matter what. That's not to say that the Fujifilm wasn't able to produce on a professional level, but I have a sense of stability, reliability, safety in Nikon that is just important to me. Furthermore, I find Nikon inspiring and I like the files more than any other camera, and it's as simple as that. So I use Nikon, and I am not particularly sad to be further investing in them. In fact, I love using them. But I'll always miss the aesthetic. I'll always miss the manual feel of Fujifilm, and I have this sort of nostalgia towards it, right? I learned how to be a photographer with Fujifilm cameras, and I've always loved using them. So I'll continue to at some point. But at this time, further investing in Nikon is the easy answer for me. So then, why did I choose to leave Fujifilm when I did? Was it the firmware updates, or reliability, or build quality, or any singular moment in time? Well, no, it really wasn't. It boils down to a more philosophical concept, or really just an opportunity. First off, I always believe, especially in creativity and photography, that the best thing you can possibly invest in are the stories and the moments and the activities that take you towards better photographs. If that means getting underwater and scuba diving, then that means investing in a scuba diving course and scuba diving gear. Those bits of investment will make you a better photographer by virtue of where they allow you to then create photos. So with that in mind, I sold the Fujifilm so that I can invest in an opportunity. I bought an underwater housing so that I could take it on a trip that I had tickets booked for. I've been able to capture photos in an environment that fascinates me, expanding my portfolio, expanding my ability to be creative, the way I can think about creativity, and the fun I can have while doing it. Owning a camera is so much less important than using a camera. And in this case, I'm able to use my camera and establish and build my creativity in places that are far more impactful than the Fujifilm on its own effort could have taken me. So it doesn't actually really boil down to wanting to own more Nikon. It boils down to wanting to be a better, more productive, creative human being, to live more interesting and diverse stories. I know that this is a little bit poetic, right? But quitting Fujifilm really doesn't have a ton to do with Fujifilm itself. Yes, I am investing in Nikon rather than Fujifilm because I find them to be better cameras all in all, but that wasn't why I did it. I did it so that I could grow as a creative. If I can leave you with one takeaway, especially heading into 2026, it's to chase passion, not product. Go into the year with the adventures you want to go on. Go into the year with the trips you have in mind, with the areas you want to explore and the portfolio you hope to build, and you'll realize pretty quickly that it's not the camera that gets you there, it is the pursuit of the adventures themselves. Find the camera that suits you, just like I have, find the gear you need, find the training you need to go to those places, and then chase those stories, chase those narratives. That will leave you happy, fulfilled, and with a strong portfolio at the end of the year. That's all I can say going into the year. Now with that in mind, guys, let's all get started. Let's all go build our lists for 2026, and I will see you again very, very soon. Cheers.